Hello, my name is Seth Berger. I wanted to walk through one of the epics that we're looking at implementing for DAST to complete. So at the core, one of the functionalities that we want is on-demand scans. So you can pull that up here under the epics and then take a look at the 4 issues that we've got. Let me start at the top of what our design would look like. So that's going to be on-demand scans here. And we've got a design right here in a Figma file. So the idea here is that you'll be able to run scans without relying on a pipeline. So what we've done is we've added on the left-hand navigation a link called On-Demand Scans that you can see. And then when you click on that, you can set up a bunch of different settings. Everything from a target branch to this idea of configuration profiles. And configuration profiles is a group of, or a grouping of settings that you would run on a particular scan. So you could set up one here. We've got an active profile 1 as an example. It's got a URL, the different scan modes, and then essentially all of the different environment variables that we support in the DAST scanner. So that would all make up, starting from target URL down to the request headers. All of that would make up a profile. And then you could set up a schedule here and say create scan. And this would fire off a DAST scan using these settings and show those results. Again, what we're seeing here is that this is all operating outside of a pipeline. And this is a real key feature to get users into DAST scanners without having to do any of the configuration in their GitLab YAML file. So this is one of the key things. Building off of this, I'd like to walk through two other issues that we would be implementing as well to make this simpler. This is kind of a parent issue just to show the functionality. But the idea is that instead of the configuration settings today as they exist in your GitLab YAML file, we want to introduce 2 places to store those profile settings. So here's an example of your GitLab CI file. You would have your DAST template just as you would today, and then you could have a DAST configuration profile, and it would be profile 1, profile 2, whatever the name that you set over here is. When you have that profile 1, that would incorporate all of your configuration settings in the database. And the big benefit is if you wanted to configure this today, each of these variables, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you'd have to have 6 different variables in your CI file. Instead, what we're doing is we're moving that down to 1 value, which is just your configuration profile and the configuration profile name. So it would exist in a file. You would send that into the DAST analyzer. The DAST analyzer would grab that profile name, and then it would go to the GitLab API and pull up those variables as they're defined in that profile. So this makes it a lot easier. It also means that you can reuse these profiles so that if you had another job, another template, so on and so forth, they could all use profile 1, and you wouldn't have to reproduce all those variables in each of your CI files. The other approach that we want to implement, or at least open up for discussion, is the same concept, except that it would exist in the profile1.yaml file, or whatever your YAML file name is. This YAML file would exist as part of your repo. And as part of your repo, it would follow the same process that you manage your repo in. So your merge requests, your reviewer process, your maintainers, developers, all those permission levels, this file would follow that same exact process. So same idea here, which is that you've got one variable DAST configuration settings. It takes a file name. The analyzer would read in that file name, and then it would go into your repository and then pull up the YAML file with all those settings. Those settings would all be the same set here. So this is the 2 different options. Saving to a database is much easier from this screen because when you say create new scan, we can just persist those values into the database. If we tried to take this into move it into a YAML file, then you're really talking about opening up a merge request and going through the merge request process. So the idea is that this screen here would write exclusively to the database. However, if you wanted to manage your settings manually, you could do that in YAML files and just have a set of variables in those files. We've got 2 issues open. One is to the scan profiles from the database, and then one from the file system. And those just go into a little bit more of the implementation details and show you the template that would be used, talks about how values would be overridden and which ones take precedence. So this is for the database. And then the other issue here is for the file system. And if you want to view all of these topics, you can look for the DAST on-demand scans epics.